I've just dropped the most insane game on how to grow a $1 billion AI consulting firm from a 24-year-old who closed his first 24K deal. But to figure out exactly what all this means, we need to take it back to the start. So this 24-year-old just made $24,000 from one single AI deal. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the exact business, the exact offer that he pitched this client, the exact outreach, and the ascension path to turn $24,000 deal into $240,000. Now this deal was with one of the largest textile manufacturers in the whole of the USA. So you might have been thinking that this is for some really tech-savvy business, but that couldn't be further from the truth. And that's really the power of the business model that I'm going to be walking you through on this video today. Because this business model specifically works for all of the traditional businesses. It actually works for every business. And the business model I am talking about specifically is consulting. So consulting, in the simplest terms, is where somebody pays you for your experience, your expertise in something specific. They're going to give you money so you can fast track their learning in a specific area of their business. And the area that we are specifically helping them with has two letters, which is AI. AI consulting is an absolute gold rush. It is the untapped opportunity that absolutely everybody in this world can take advantage of, because you do not need to be technical, okay? This is what's so powerful about it, because consultants at their core are just very good at diagnosing problems, okay? And that is what we are doing too, okay? So what happens with AI consulting and what happened with this textiles business specifically is you've got these businesses out here right now, and you've got where the business wants to be, which is an AI version of itself. It's an AI optimized version. And right now, these businesses have no clue how to get there, right? So when Michael came, he reached out to this business here, and he offered to expose them, identify what areas of their business could be optimized by AI, converting them from a traditional business into an AI optimized traditional business. So what we're coming along and doing, like Michael did, is we are bridging this gap for people, okay? And we are positioning ourselves here as essentially the middleman to convert them from traditional to AI first. And we do this in a very simple way, which is the offer, which is something called AI audit. You are probably very familiar with the word audit, whether it's a financial audit, maybe you've been unlucky enough to get the IRS and they've audited you. It could be a lifestyle audit. There's many things, but basically an audit, at its simplest term, is you just looking at a set of processes, a thing that is happening, and just pulling it down to its component parts and identifying anything that should or shouldn't be happening, inefficiencies, things like that, and then removing those bottlenecks, removing those things that shouldn't be there to having a more efficient process. That really is what an audit is. It's uncovering things, right, in its simplest form. So what we are doing is we're going into businesses with one singular focus, which is uncovering their business and then finding where AI fits into it, okay? So an AI audit really is 4 key things, right? Now there's obviously more that goes into like each element, but these are the 4 key components. So first of all, we've actually got the interviews. Now the interviews, you actually have 2. So you have with, say, directors, so stakeholders, management, whatever you would like to call them, and you've got the employees. And the reason we have 2 sets of interviews with directors and employees is we need to understand within a business from when a decision is made to when the work gets done, completed or doesn't get completed if it goes wrong, what are all the processes that happen along that chain, and where are the breakpoints, where are things that AI could step in to make things more efficient and basically reduce the amount of breakpoints within it, okay? Which leads us to the second stage, which is a stage called mapping, okay? Now mapping is basically a flow chart. You've probably done these before where you might go, okay, we do step 1, then we do step 2, we do step 3, we do step 4. So imagine this in a very simple way. Let's say someone pays an invoice, right? And you're a traditional business and it's a paper invoice. So what happens, a client brings paper invoice, that'd be step 1. Step 2 is Sandra, the accountant, takes that paper invoice and uploads it to the CRM, which will be step 2. Step 3 might be the invoice is then, sent out to them digitally, like confirming it's been paid. And then step 4 is the team is notified that the invoice has been paid, so work can start. And then 5, 6, 7, 8. That's all mapping is. And what's crazy is a lot of traditional businesses have never actually mapped out their businesses previously. So actually doing this within an audited process is actually hugely valuable to them in the first place. Then you go on to what you call opportunity matrix. Don't worry about the fancy words here. This is extremely simple. This is after mapping, and we identify where AI can fit in. So what we could say is like, you know, AI fits in here, right? And AI can fit in here. All we're doing on an opportunity matrix is we are categorizing these implementations, these potential implementations. So you have something called quick wins and big wins, so that you basically grade these on two things, which is the improvement to a business, so how valuable it is to the business, and the amount of effort it takes to do them, okay? So if you have like low effort or low value, high value, then low effort, high effort, okay? So you want low effort, high value. These are ideal. So so if it's low effort and high value, these will be like quick wins. And then if you have high effort, high value, these would be what we call big swings, right? They're pretty easy to remember acronyms. And all we're doing is we are highlighting these and we're saying, okay, well, this is really easy to implement. It goes into this side of the opportunity matrix. This one's actually quite hard to implement, but it's still valuable. So we do it here. And that's important because of the final step in this process. So the final step in this process, outside of the presentation in its entirety, is the ROI calculations, okay? ROI calculations and roadmap. In the ROI calculations and roadmap, we basically say, this is how much roughly it'll cost to do these AI implementations, and this is how much it's going to save you. So what we need for that is from the directors, they will tell us here how much these people are earning, okay? Therefore, we know with these processes how many hours they're spending. So let's do a really simple example. They've got 10 employees wasting 10 hours a week at $10 an hour. So it'll be 10 times 10 times 10. So what's that, $1,000 they'd be wasting on this task, okay? So then we go, okay, well, you're wasting $1,000, but the AA implementation might cost $50 to implement, just for the sake of argument. So you've got a 2x ROI on that implementation within, you know, the first month. Would be a very simplistic example. Obviously, AI implementations cost significantly more than that, and we'll touch on that later because, as I promised, you don't need to be technical because I am not, and I'm going to show you how we get around the technical implementation and adoption side of this. We then build a roadmap for them. Once they understand how much they're going to be saving, okay, we then roadmap it out, okay? So again, you probably done something like this in your career or in your life, where you basically say, over the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days or whatever, these are the things that we're going to achieve. Now, when it comes to AI and implementations, we tend to do quarterly. So you might have something that looks like this, okay? And this is each stage of implementation and adoption, okay? So we, as consultants and implementers, in this case, focus only on quick wins. Now, you might be wondering, and again, this is exactly what Michael did, by the way, so just drawing it back into, this is step by step what Michael did. We focus on quick wins. So these tend to be here, right? Quick wins tend to live here. Then the big swings are this way onwards. Now, big swings usually involve some type of development, like actual full stack developers coming in, developing some type of custom solution. I, as an individual, don't want to be touching that because, again, I am not technical, but with the quick wins, a lot of this can be done with no code tools, and there is 1,000,001 people who can help with this from websites. And again, I'm happy to share that with you in this video. So we can make the money from the quick wins, but we don't really make any money from the big swings, sorry. But if you are technical and you are tech savvy and you enjoy the challenge of doing deep implementations and complex projects, you can make an absolute boatload of money, which is how this could transform from a, say, 24K to a 240K deal. And I'll run you through those numbers. So this is the main components of an audit. Then the final one is you present, okay? Now you are obviously presenting to the directors, the business owners, and you are saying, Mr. Business Owner, we have fully audited your whole business. We've gone through your acquisition, your delivery, fulfillment, support, all the departments. This is all their current workflows. These are all the areas where AI can improve your current systems, basically saving you this amount of time and this amount of money every single day, week, month, year. These are the costs to achieve this, right? Then we put this into a deck. Now, you don't want this to be some really bloated, elongated deck. This should be, I recommend anywhere from usually around 13 pages to, for a big company, it might be 30, but even that is big. I would say mid-20s is more than enough, but you want to be 10 to 13 for the small companies, just so there is something of substance there. And then for the big companies, you want it to be as short as you possibly can, because there's a lot of density in that information, okay? So that is the business, right, which is AI consulting, and the offer is we run an AI audit. So this is where everyone starts. This is exactly where Michael starts, and that's how he got his 24K from this first business, which was a textiles manufacturer. Now, you might also be wondering about pricing. So I am just going to cover that here very quickly for you. Just an easy rule of thumb. It doesn't work for like absolutely everything, but if you are getting into the business of AI consulting and running audits, it works out at roughly $500 per head, right? That's kind of how I do it. Now, the reason I say this doesn't work for every business, if you have, for example, a call center with 100 staff and then 90 of the staff literally do exactly the same job, pick up the phones, they follow the same processes and everything, it's actually much closer to being like essentially an 11 or 12 person company as it is a 100 person. Because you might have directors, managers, you know, middlemen, whatever, but then the predominant, like the bulk of the workforce literally does the identical same task. It's hard to charge at $500 a head, which would be 50 grand for that audit. You're probably going to be charging much closer to about 12 to 15K for that audit. That is exactly how you run an audit and all of the component parts of it, okay? Now we are going to be discussing how Michael actually got this client, the outreach he did. And when it comes to outreach, there is a few really important parts to this. So we've got the ICB, we've got how we actually gather the leads, how we send the campaigns, and obviously the messaging within those campaigns, which is the most important part of this. So when it comes to cold outbound, there's really three main strategies that people think of with cold outbound, and we're going to be running through one of those, okay? What I mean specifically is either one of these: cold email, cold LinkedIn, cold, and I'm going to just say DMs. Even though technically this is like LinkedIn, I'm going to split these out into Facebook and Instagram. Now, this is really what people think of when you think of direct cold outbound strategies. So I'm not going to be discussing cold DMs because candidly, I just don't do this. I don't know anyone that has a huge amount of success just going straight cold outbound with this strategy. And also there isn't a lot of tools that can help with this. However, with these two, there is a lot of very robust tools out there that can help us with this. Why do we choose cold email, for example? So one, we have scale. And what do I mean by that? You can easily spin up more and more and more and more and more email inboxes to be sending potentially millions of emails a month. So with the previous business of mine, we used to send 1 million emails a month. And we just had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inboxes to do that. So you got scale. Then it's also really good for traditional business owners, okay? Really good. So you think of old school people that we're going after, a bit like Michael with the textiles firm. We are going after traditional companies who need to go from traditional business to AI optimized traditional businesses. A lot of these traditional guys are on their email and on their phone and even letters. I've sent letters and letters actually work really goddamn well. Then we've got cold LinkedIn. So with cold LinkedIn, we haven't got scale. This is the problem. We have got the traditional, this works here too, okay? But the one thing you've got with LinkedIn is high response, really high response. So you can have campaigns with LinkedIn that have 25% reply rate, when with cold email, even if you are really good, you are gonna get like say a 5%. Like my best campaigns ever, which I've done videos on as well, had I think 9.4%. But that is just not normal. Like I really knew the ICP and the messaging and I had it nailed, and I've been doing it for a while. So don't expect that. Normal cold email gets anywhere from 1% to 3%. Really good with say 5%. Anything above 5%, you are definitely a unicorn. Cold LinkedIn, like I said, high response. You can get anywhere from, I would say the low end is like 10% response rate, but you just haven't got scale. So you send in like 100, maybe 100 and something messages a week, when with cold email, you could send 10,000 a week pretty damn easily. And like I said, cold DMs, not really going to discuss because I don't think it really works, especially not with traditional business owners. And I don't know anyone doing it successfully, especially not me. And on this channel, I only talk about stuff that I do. This is all just coming from real data, from me working with hundreds and hundreds, like over 500 companies now, generated over 1.4 billion in trackable revenue with the companies I've helped, okay? So let's go into the essence, like what are the main components of sending cold emails, or what are the things you need to do, and then the messaging within it, okay? So really important is your ICP. So I would always recommend whoever you are going after, you just know them. And I don't mean like it's your mate Bob. What I mean is you understand how they talk, the problems they're having, you understand the industry. So Michael, although he was young, his family actually had a track record in like manufacturing in the textile style industry. So when he actually did his cold email, which is where this client came from, he said a few words, you know, that they understood. That's the only way I can say it. Like, if you come from a certain industry, you will speak a certain way, and you might use certain acronyms. Would be a really good way of describing that. And only people within those industries actually use them. So when you reach out and you use them too, they instantly know that you know something about their business, okay? So having a focused ICP based on your experience and background is a huge plus. You then need to scrape the leads. Now, when it comes to scraping, there's like a few main sources, but for normal, let's say normal corporate style businesses, Apollo.io is probably the best. There is a few variations of it, but Apollo, you've got a big lead database, does an awesome job at it. The local business ones, you could use something like D7 Lead Finder. So if you're going after, let's just use a broad example again of like HVAC, electrical, plumbing, anything like that, and the service you're looking for, you would find ordinarily on Google, like go into the Google Maps, like Map Pack and find it because it's got 48 5-star reviews. You would find through a tool like D7 Lead Finder, something like that, but you'll find them through Google scraping instead. So they're like the big difference, right? You've then got the campaign itself. And what I mean by that is like the actual thing building it. Now for this, I like to use a tool called instantly.ai, right? And that does all your cold email. And you can build all the follow-up sequences, all the split testing and messaging, all the split testing and subject lines, all within one platform, and also answer all the responses. Even if you have 1,000 inboxes, which I know you won't, but even if you've got 10, right? You can just answer them all from one platform. You don't have to log into all the separate inboxes, which is awesome. And then finally, you've got the messaging, and actually a little bonus point for you here, because most people miss this, is you got subject lines, okay? So we're gonna be discussing messaging and subject lines. I'm gonna give you the game on both of these now, because this is how, after teaching over 500 companies this and teaching Michael this as well, this is how we got this client. Because the thing is with great cold emails or great messaging, if it doesn't get open, if it doesn't get seen, it doesn't matter how good it is, okay? So let's walk through each of these. Subject lines should be two things: curious, casual, and concise, okay? Think about when a friend emails you, someone you know or someone you know of. How do they email you? Go look at the way they speak to you. Look at the things that you ordinarily open. And a fun fact is, if you can use a one-word subject line, it has a significantly higher open rate. So the more words, the lower the open rate pretty much. And yeah, if you can get it down to one word, which I have done, the one word I used was sales, you can get an insanely high open rate. And I'm talking 80% plus, okay? So that's for subject lines. It should be curious, casual, and concise. Keep it under 3 words. One word is ideal. Then for the message, so it starts out with, hey, and then first name, okay? If you do not have their first name, don't reach out to them, seriously. Like, this is the lowest barrier to entry ever. So first name, so if the first name is Jason, it'll be, hey Jason, right? Then you'll have personalization. Now personalization will be something about their company, something that's happened, a post they've written, anything like that, right? And this is where AI has transformed this, because I used to have a copywriter doing this every single day. We'd come in and write this single personalized sentence. Every single day, he'd do a few hundred of them. Now AI can do all of this, much more efficient, obviously significantly cheaper, and actually better, okay? Then we have the offer. So this is where we start talking about, I'm reaching out because we help manufacturing companies identify, inefficiencies within their processes using an AI audit. That's not the world's best offer, but you get the idea, like it's specific. Then you have social proof, and then you have a call to action, right? It's very simple. It's five lines, okay? So social proof would be, I've worked with Google, Meta, and Amazon, and we have identified $500,000 in inefficiencies within 2 weeks, okay? Call to action, always the same. Is adopting AI on your radar right now? Because it's basically rhetorical, because the answer is absolutely yes for all these businesses, okay? I'll give you my real life one from my previous consulting company. It'd be, hey Jason, I just saw you raise a pre-seed round from Sequoia Capital. I'm reaching out because we help VC-backed SaaS companies build their first founder-led sales playbook and scale to 1 million ARR. We've worked with over 350 companies, 87% of which have come out of Y Combinator. Is building a sales playbook on your radar? That was literally a message, and this got us, within that firm, a 20.6x ROI. So every dollar we put in, we got nearly $21 back. That is how powerful this is when you do it right. And this is exactly what Michael did to get that textiles client. Now we know the business, we know the offer, and we know how he got the client, like the messaging and the framework. Let's run into Ascension on how he's going to be able to turn this one client from 24K to being worth over $240,000. We have started here, and this is what we've discussed, an AI audit. We now need to figure out what this ladder looks like. So for those uninitiated, this is how you tend to draw value adders. So this is each step they take to go up the ladder. So right now, this was 24K, okay? That's what he closed here. And now he wants to get here to the promised land of 240K, okay? How do we do that? So to go from here to here, we need to then we start doing the implementation. I can hear some of you screaming right now, but Andrew, you said you do not need to be technical. You wrote on your whiteboard. I'm gonna put you on some game, okay? So, like I said, we're really focusing on quick wins and big swings. Now, I do not do this. I don't want to manage developers at all. It's not my business model. I personally don't like doing it. But if you want to make like the big bucks, you want to do this stuff because that development is deep in the six figures. I have one client who closed an 80K audit, huge company, and then the initial round of implementation was 250,000. And the next round is meant to be another 500K. So that one client paid him $800,000+, okay? We go to implementation. Now, just an easy rule of thumb. Don't hold me to this, but like a very, very, very cheap set of implementations is about 5 to 15K per implementation. That does not include these big swings, okay? So in a typical audit, you will usually find 3 to 5 quick wins. That's pretty normal, right? That you can do with no code solutions, hiring people. That is basically where we go to here. And so just on the low end, we're talking 45K would be 3. So what's that? 60, 75K would be 5, right? So then we've gone from 24K to the 69, or is that 80? No, that'd be 99K, right? So that'd be basically 6 figures, right? Now, how do you get people to actually do these? So I use a platform called Upwork. Now, Upwork is the biggest freelancer platform in the world, and there is 1,000,001 people who during this AI revolution are deeply technical, who just want to be behind the scenes, who are more than happy to take on this workload. It is crazy how many people are out there. This is so competitive that you can get really good prices. And because we're using quick wins, and these aren't that complicated to actually implement, you know, usually these processes don't really go wrong. We are going to guarantee they don't go wrong. So you might be wondering how we do that, and that is actually the final step. And it's something that I like to call an AI MSP. Now, an MSP stands for Managed Service Provider. So if you don't know, companies have IT solutions, so laptop software that they have within them, and they usually have an outsourced MSP who manages all of that for them. So if you are in corporate, you've been in corporate, and you maybe had a company laptop, phone, everything on it, you probably have dealt with the managed service provider, the IT team who actually looked after everything. This is very, very, very common in companies across the globe, and these guys make a lot of money, and also the clients are sticky as all hell. It is very common for an MSP to have a client for over 10 years, like very common, okay? There is now gonna be a huge tidal wave, huge, of AI MSPs, where people who are managing these implementations. Now, you, as a savvy AI consultant, are going to say to everybody who adopts your AI implementations that you maintaining them and managing them is a requirement. It is not an option, okay? And this is how we're gonna keep scaling. So I'm gonna round number this and say we're roughly at 100K right now. That's at the top end, but let's say we're at 100K here. So how do we get to 240? So anywhere from 2 to 5K per month per AI agent you have implemented. So if you've implemented 3 or 5, you are looking at anywhere from 10 to 25K a month. Now, it depends on how complicated they are. If they're really simple, it'll be at the lower end. So you might say, hey, we're getting, and let's go lower end on this one. Let's say we're getting 15K a month. So in a single year, the maintenance would be worth 180K plus 100 here, and that's on the higher end, and then plus 24 here. You're over 250 grand. Now, this what I've laid out here is going to be the foundation for many, many, many billion-dollar firms, and I'm guaranteeing you that. This is exactly what I am doing at my company, right? This is literally what we do at Dunn & Company, right? We do all 3 of these components. I built this company off the back of the auditing process, then transitioned to the quick win process. And then as I got really good developers and stuff on board, we will then add this in when the time is right. I'm still not currently doing it. The 3 bits that I do is I do this, I do the audits, and this is like the main part of my business. I do the quick wins and I do the MSP. That is exactly how we're going to be growing a 9-figure consulting firm in this day and age. And it's exactly how you can grow a 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure company for yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We have discussed the business, the offer, the outreach, and the ascension model for an AI consulting firm. All right. So make sure to smash the subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you in the next one.